That was one of the most shocking losses I have ever seen. And when I say ever, I mean it. The Phillies were just eliminated. The Dodgers are moving on. The Cubs force a game 5. And we're also going to talk about that game 5 between the Cubs and the Brewers and rehash. Are we still on the side of the Tigers for the elimination game tomorrow? Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. It is Thursday, October 9th. That's Aram Layton. I am Peter Apple, and it's all brought to us by the Sportsbook Born in Vegas. Remember, folks, download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JUSTBASEBALL. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first wager loses. Just remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Aram, before we get into it all, thank you to everybody joining us on YouTube. These late night YouTube lives have been so much fun. So just another reminder for everybody listening, you can always watch the show live right after the game ends. Or if you're listening on audio, of course, it will always be there. And then it'll be on after the fact. Just remember to go to our YouTube page and click on the live. It's not on our normal videos. It's on the live, and we're going to do it for the rest of the postseason. All right, we got that out of the way. We got the admin stuff out of the way.
Yeah. That game. It sucks because it was such a good game.
Should I do the recap first, and then we'll talk about it?
Yes.
We have so many thoughts. You and I both. We have so many thoughts. So let's just walk everyone through it. Both Tyler Glasnow and Christopher Sanchez were fantastic. Glasnow threw 6 shutout innings with only 2 hits allowed and 8 strikeouts. He was taken out after just 83 pitches. And I was shocked considering the Dodgers bullpen is clearly their worst unit. But Dave Roberts did say in a post-game presser that he was cramping, and that's why he was removed. On the other side, Christopher Sanchez was just phenomenal, throwing 71 strikes out of his 95 pitches. That's unbelievable, allowing just 1 run that came on a bases-loaded walk from Yohan Duran that was credited to him. Then that was to tie the game, and in the half inning before, Nick Castellanos doubles home Max Kepler off Emmett Sheehan to give the Phillies a short-lived lead. Then in the 11th, the Dodgers load the bases, and with 2 outs, Andy Pages hits a little dribbler, and Orion Kerkering boots it, and then Panic throws home when he had Pages out at first by a mile, and the game is over. Dodgers advance, Phillies going home. It was the first postseason series ever in MLB history decided on a walk-off error. Run me through your thoughts watching it.
Because we talked about it yesterday, and I really felt like, and I know you texted me about it, you're like, good call. This might be the best game of the postseason. It can't end that way, right? Like, it was too good of a game to end that way. I really feel for Kerkering. I think people would say, oh, well, why didn't he just throw it to first? And you touched on this. I thought you did a great job of highlighting that in the social video that you put out. But, I think a lot of times when you're in the field, you think, if the ball comes to me, what am I going to do? When you're a pitcher in a bases loaded jam, I think the last thing you're thinking about is, if the ball comes to me, what am I going to do? You're thinking about just, how do I get out of this jam? How do I get this out? And the second the ball went towards Kerkering, I got nervous, just because I figured, there's no way he's thinking about what he's going to do in that spot. And then the second you bobble it, I think for him, he's looking and saying, I have maybe some distant chance at getting him at home, and that plays in front of me. If I look to first and he's already down the line, and then I look back home, it's going to be too late. Now, that's probably overthinking it, because of course, guy on third is going to have a lead. He's moving on contact, and the guy at home plate has a longer way to go to first base. But we're talking about this as we are sitting on our chairs thinking about it. Just a tough spot. And I really don't think you can circle that one moment as much as that will be the one moment that's circled. You also mentioned this in your video, and I agree with you. Like, there's a lot of other opportunities to score, right? You scored one run in 11 innings, and I'll give credit to this Dodgers staff, right? Glasnow was spectacular, as you mentioned. I thought Emmett Sheehan looked good, but that was the guy that, you got to for one run. Sasaki was phenomenal, but you got to get to Sasaki maybe in one of those 3 innings. He didn't go for 1 inning. He went 3 innings. And then you didn't get to Vesia either. So, I feel like you can circle that moment, and I'm sure Phillies fans will, but you got to score more than 1 run in 11 innings. What are the odds that you're going to keep this Dodgers offense to 1 run for more than an entire game? It's super slim anyways.
Yeah, there's so many thoughts running through my head. I want to stick on the error, and then we're going to talk about the series as a whole. How do you make that mistake? That was my first thought. Like, how do you throw home? And I think that was all of ours, because it's clear. You get the ball and you throw it to first base. But in the heat of the moment, even in his post-game presser, I was listening to him, and you could just tell the 24-year-old was crushed. We have to remind ourselves of that. And I think about it, and it hits me home too, because that's the age of my younger sister. Like, I'm just imagining that human being with that 24-year-old brain on the mound, just watching it crumble. Yep. And Dan Plesac also had a great tweet where he said, the bump, the mound, can be the best place in the world, or it can be the loneliest place in the world. And you see him drop almost to his knees, drop down, and just the world came crashing down on him. He let the heat of the moment get to him in a big spot like that. And I did also say in the video, so I want to say, like, we should feel horrible for Orion Kerkering. At the end of the day, we get really into sports, but this is a human being. But at the same time, I have to bring it up because this was so monumental. The comparisons to the Bill Buckner error, back in the 1986 World Series, Mets versus Red Sox. Because this, Orion Kerkering's error, was the only one in MLB history to end a series on a walk-off error. Bill Buckner's was in a game 6, so the Red Sox, who played the Mets in that series, had the opportunity to go win a game 7 and make up for it, but they didn't, right? And it was a bad hop versus this one was a pure mental mistake because he clearly had him at first base. It wasn't as if, oh, well, he wouldn't have had him at first anyway. He tried. It was an error. But damn, no, he had it right there. So when I say this is one of the craziest endings I've ever seen, I think it is the craziest ending we've ever seen. And I think it's going to go down in history as one of the biggest blunders in MLB history. I don't know how you can't say that, which is horrible to say because we don't want to put it all on a 24-year-old. But when you look at baseball history, I mean, what's worse than this?
It's tough because I just feel like they had so many opportunities.
Absolutely.
What was the exact? I'm trying to remember. What was the exact situation for Buckner? Like that, he boots it, they lose the game, right? I mean, like right on the spot there.
Yeah, it was the walk-off Mookie Wilson ground ball, weak grounder. It goes through his legs.
I was trying to remember if that was to tie it or that was always immediately to lose it.
Immediately to win the game.
Yeah.
And it was the World Series versus an NLDS.
That's the thing, too. You still got to win another series, and you got to win another series.
But the Red Sox also had an opportunity to go win a game 7, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So that could have just been washed away if the Red Sox do end up winning the World Series, but it's kind of remembered forever because they ended up losing in 1986.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I think I just don't even think it was something that crossed his mind there, right? It's like, go in there, get the out, not, ball comes back to me, automatically go 1. I just don't even think that was discussed, thought of, but maybe it was, but even more so, I think that shows you put a 24-year-old in that spot. David Robertson was available, but there's a reason why they went to Kerkering over Robertson. His stuff's better. He made the pitch. He got the out in terms of the weak contact. It just stinks that it went right to him. You paid a lot of money for a few months of a 40-year-old vet who ultimately didn't go in that spot. And that's the other reason. And it's funny to me too, because like if David Robertson was pitching to his ability, maybe he would have been in that spot anyways. Like there's so many other things when it's a whole team effort that I think you zoom out and think a little bit more about all of that. Of course, you're on the field, you need to make the play, and that's what it is. But yeah, I think about David Robertson's like that's who they paid to be in those leverage spots, and he was so bad that they didn't even want to use him in the playoffs. And that's why you have a 24-year-old there. So you could look at that. You could also look at the fact that Trey Turner was 0 for 5 and Bryce Harper was 0 for 4, who had multiple spots to come up big.
Multiple.
I mean, that's what I look at too. Of course, still you got to make that play and get the out. Who's to say they were who's to say they were even going to score a run?
Nope.
I still don't know if they were going to. The one reason why it does bother me a little bit more though is I think Blake Trinan was getting hot. And that makes me feel like they were going to score a run. That's the part that really does torture me, because I could say that they didn't score for 10 of their 11 innings. Like, who thinks they're going to score again? But Blake Trinan was getting hot, so now I'm worried that's going to supersede that argument there. It's tough, and I really hope he has a great year and bounces back from it next year. And I mean, I still think there's so many other instances there though that you could circle,
100%.
but you know how it goes. It's always going to be the deciding one.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to speak about it in a historical context.
Oh, it's up there. It's up there.
Because I can feel your hesitancy to do it, because I know you feel so bad for Kerkering. I know you're thinking about how many opportunities the Phillies had to win this game. They only scored 1 run at the end of the day, right? So,
but
and you also look at the games. You also look at the games before then, and the Phillies also had other chances to make this more of a series, to get a lead anyway. So I think what you're feeling right now is you don't want to put it all on Orion Kerkering. I don't either. I just think when we look back on this play, regardless of what we say here today, this is going to be in the pantheon of blunders in MLB history.
Yeah.
And it was crazy to watch it live. My mouth dropped to my floor. I even said in the video, that's a play that makes you reconsider your fandom as a Phillies fan. I'm rocking my Phillies hat today because I want to stand in unison with them, because I feel horrible for them. Horrible. Not just for that play, just how everything unfolded. Because funny enough, they played great defense in that game. Trey Turner is getting everything. Max Kepler with a diving play. So for that game where they played that excellent a defense to end like that, and I did say in the Discord, both pitching staffs on both sides were so good all day. Roki, Sasaki, we have so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
And I did say in the Discord, Aram, I said, I feel like this game is either going to end on a home run or an error. Because, and someone else said it in our Discord too, it was impossible for either offenses to string 2 good hits together in the same inning. So it had to come down to that. And Andy Pages, who is 1 for 22 in the postseason, he's the one who gets it.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers, we're going to talk about them too. They got to kick it in gear, because this was not a great series for them either. And if they're going to go beat the Brewers and the Cubs, they got to be at their best. And right now, like, Shohei Ohtani's been terrible. We have so many things to talk about. Where should we go?
Well, I'll tie a bow on the Phillies. Christopher Sanchez, again, like we talked about it yesterday, he was what we thought he would be, right? We said he needed to go 6+. He went 6 1/3, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 Ks, handed it over to Duran. I loved going with Duran in that spot, to be honest, and just trying to get to those late innings. You get an inning in 2/3 from him. I just thought Sanchez, man, just watching this guy pitch, some of the swings that he was picking up from guys, this is a bona fide top 5 pitcher in this game. And I think you could say even maybe a little bit better than that. I can't wait till we do our pitcher rankings, because when we really sit down and think about it, I think there's a case to be made that he's, right in there in the 4-3 spot. So I just think to do this to the Dodgers twice in this series, like he gave his team a shot, and more than a shot with the way that he threw, and that what a phenomenal finish to a year for him. I think the Harrison Bader absence was more felt than maybe it got credit for. And maybe local radio or like Phillies fans were talking about it a little bit more, but I didn't see it get brought up that much. This was one of the best deadline acquisitions, and this was one of the better center fielders in baseball this year all around.
Yeah.
The defense, the speed, the fact that he's having this just incredible offensive season, an 824 OPS as a Philly. he got in there and I mean, he was playing with a bad groin and hammy. He's told not to run. And the ABs, I mean, he had a couple big hits earlier in the postseason, but even that at bat where he ends up striking out, he made Vesia throw 10 plus pitches. And I mean, he was battling up there. And I think it was just a wrinkle that lineup really needed. And we talked about how top heavy it is. If you had Bader in that lineup, it would just really lengthen it a little bit more. And then, of course, the glove and the speed as well, assuming he's healthy. I'm not saying that makes the difference in the series, but I do think that Bader's absence was very underrated in this whole thing. And I do think really hurt the Phillies in this one.
Speaking about the Phillies offense needing a guy like Harrison Bader, think about it. The only run they scored in this game was because Emmett Sheehan couldn't find first base. Yep. And without that error, did they score even one run?
No, probably not.
Probably not. Like, this offense needed a lightning rod, and they got it in game 3. We saw Schwarber go yard twice. We saw Bryce Harper hit 3 balls over 95 miles an hour. We saw Trey Turner with 3 hits. And I hate to do this, and the only reason I'm victory lapping this is because Jack wanted to murder me for saying it. I said going into the series, I wasn't as afraid of Bryce Harper as I think everybody's making him out to be. I know he has these incredible playoff numbers, but he has to get some of the blame here for laying an egg in this series.
Yep.
Just not good enough. He has to be better. Trey Turner did not have a good offensive series, but the glove was phenomenal and really put up 17 outs above average this year. Really developed into one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. Won the batting title too, and Schwarber with his 56 home runs. Now, the top 3, none of them really had a good series, but at the end of the day, this falls on Bryce Harper. You are the engine that makes this team go, and he did not show up.
Yeah, this postseason dropped his career postseason OPS under 1,000.
I know,
and
he's
it's
a
like
legend, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying, in this series right now, it was incredibly disappointing, and it was kind of after a moderately disappointing regular season for him too.
No doubt. I mean, there was a few spots there where it's like, okay, here's your spot. Like, this is where you do it, Harper. Like, this is, and I think when they went a little bit deeper in other years, it was because he had the big swing in those spots. And it's funny because you look on both sides. I mean, you mentioned Ohtani was not good either. Like, a lot of the stars didn't really perform. Schwarber, it was nothing until he had that big game, in game 3 as well. And that was Harper's only, multi-hit contest also. So if those guys aren't performing and then you don't have a Bader to step up or something like that, like, it just, we saw how thin this lineup can look all of a sudden. Cause you're like, okay, well, who's going to be the guy that comes up big? And, when you got to the Marsh, Muto, I know he had some good swings, but Kepler, Castellanos, Stott part of the lineup, I'm like, how are they going to back into a run here?
You're not going to add Alec Boehm to that list?
I will say Boehm reached base 3 times, but that's your cleanup hitter.
Yep.
I've said enough about Boehm. He actually ended up having one of the better series, but that's your cleanup hitter.
Yeah.
If that's your cleanup hitter, you need something from Schwarber or Harper or Turner, and you didn't. And, credit to the Dodgers staff, but I mean, the Phillies offense is supposed to be able to match that, and it just didn't. And I think big part of that though was gutsy appearance, gutsy start from Glasnow, and then just what Roki did to go 3. If Roki doesn't go 3, we're having a different conversation here.
Oh, we're having a
because you have to go to then Treinen earlier, or you have to go Sheehan 2 innings, and either of those paths, I think, yield another run. Very possible.
Did you see Glasnow in his post-game presser say those 3 innings from Roki were the nastiest innings he's ever seen? I thought that was maybe a little. That sounds like me being hyperbolic.
Yeah, I've seen some nastier innings from Glasnow himself, I think, but that was ridiculous stuff. I mean, some of the fastballs where he was spotting at the command was as good as I've seen it from him.
Yeah,
he's just
and go multiple innings.
He went 3. He was so efficient to 36 pitches, but if he doesn't go 3, you're gonna feel, I think, the what's lacking in this Dodgers bullpen. Which is why I still have a concern going into the next series. What is Roki going to go 3 every other day?
Yeah.
No way. So great to get out of that situation. They did not want to go back to the bank, and we talked about it last episode. I'm like, I think Dave Roberts is going to do everything in his power. Like, he's going to push all the chips forward to ensure that this thing doesn't go back to the bank. And that was done via Roki going 3 innings here. Shout out Luzardo, like Jesus, man, like he gave him a shot too coming out of the pen. You know, he's dealt with injuries the last couple of years. He's a year away from free agency after this one. He doesn't care. He wants to go win out there. And he went out there and threw after putting together a great start for them and gave them a shot as well, with an inning and 2/3. But I got to say, Sasaki, like we put out the graphic, like he was the X factor in that series. And especially with the uncertainty and I would say lack of confidence that any of us have in that bullpen, Roki has been as valuable and as important as just about anybody on that team, given what their clear, tangible weakness is and how good he has been to offset that.
100%. I also want to answer a question here in the comment section on YouTube. Having Wheeler would definitely made it this series a lot different. I'm thinking to myself, and I disagree. And the reason I disagree is Wheeler going to pick up a bat? Because the Phillies pitching was so good, especially in the starting rotation. We talked about Christopher Sanchez. Diabolical outings, both of them. The familiarity in Dodger Stadium, and I know the shadows probably helped him a little bit too, Ed Glass now. I mean, trying to hit those guys when you can't see spin, I mean, just good luck. You could barely see it anyway. The shadows definitely helped, but that's the Dodgers offense in Dodger Stadium after they just saw you a few days ago. And then Jesus Luzardo, you said it yourself.
You went 6 innings, a 2-run ball.
Completely neutralized Shohei Ohtani, came in relief, had a great outing. Ranger Suarez dealt. Aaron Nola threw 2 shutty. I mean, what was Wheeler going to do? Just the same thing? Yeah. They couldn't hit. That's the point. So I want to say, because everybody knows listening, if you've been listening to the Just Baseball show for a while, I love Zach Wheeler. I have glazed him to no ends. But in this series, in this specific series, I don't think having Wheeler would have made much of a difference because he's not picking up a bat.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. You think, okay, well, maybe you can, buy you some innings here or there and you could align the bullpen different, but not really. It wouldn't have really set up much differently. So I maybe, you're just galvanized by knowing that you have one of the best postseason starters. Of course, it helps your case. I don't think there's any doubting that, but I'm with you. Like this series probably went, if I wanted to, say basically, how do I feel about how much Wheeler could have impacted the series? I don't think it could have went any more in the direction of it probably would have been out of his hands. Like I agree with you wholeheartedly because the offense was the problem. Yeah. And ultimately they got good starts across the board. And even that quote unquote bullpen game ended up being a combined between Nola and Ranger, as you mentioned, of 7 innings of 1-run ball. So yeah, maybe Wheeler gives you a little bit more than 6 innings of 2-run ball from Luzardo. Maybe you get 7 of 1. That's not going to be the difference ultimately, I think. And it's going to be really hard to win that way anyways. So I'm really excited for the Phillies offseason because I just want to see what they're going to do. Like, I think they're one of the most fascinating teams. They're still obviously in win now mode at all times, but Schwarber got a lot more expensive in free agency. I think they're going to look a lot different because Castellanos is probably going to be out the door. That might be a salary dump situation. What are they going to do with the catching situation there? Just in terms of long term, how do they feel? Is Alec Boehm going to still be their third baseman? I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting conversations to be had. People still keep floating Kyle Tucker, but do they have the money to do that? Is Wheeler going to be healthy for the start of the season? There's a lot of things for them to figure out, and Dombrowski needs to figure out a way to get this team, right back to where they've been. But not just that, how can you make that final step? And if Harper is starting to age downwards a little bit, like, you're going to need to find some more production. So this team's not getting younger. They're still really, really good. And I'm just fascinated by, how Dombrowski can give this team a little bit of a jolt going into next year. And I think from within, there's some good prospects that can help that.
Let's wrap up on the Dodgers before we move on to Cubs versus Brewers. And we'll talk about the Dodgers and what their series is going to look like against either the Cubs or the Brewers, whoever moves on, when we do the championship series preview. So we'll stay that. I want to stick primarily in this series. I want to talk about how great of a series this was for them. And it was, especially for the pitching. We've already talked so much about Roki. He was an ultimate weapon. Blake Snell, you could hand him the ball on the moon and he'd be able to get outs. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, not his best start in his last start against Philly, but you have all the confidence in the world for him moving forward. It just wasn't the best outing. Glasnow, the stuff was outrageous, right? And you can, it's late at night. Who am I forgetting in their starting rotation? Shohei Ohtani. How am I forgetting Shohei Ohtani? 6 innings, a 3-run ball, but it all came in like one bad inning, and then he was just dominant from there. So the Dodgers, clearly, they're going to go as far as their starting rotation takes them. But what makes them clearly more dangerous is if Ohtani is not neutralized by these lefties. He had a terrible series offensively. Yep. It is what it is. Mookie and Teoscar were the guys to get them there. You know, Tommy Edman had a couple of nice hits. But really, like, I look at their lineup and I think to myself, Alex Call had some good ABs.
Yeah.
I mean, it really wasn't a great series from them. The big home run by Teoscar, Mookie just being wildly consistent. It's not like Freddie Freeman had a good series. No. Imagine that starting rotation so they can beat a team like the Phillies in 4. Because, right, I'm kind of crushing them right now. But then it makes me think. They win game 1 when Shohei Ohtani goes 0-for-4 with 4 strikeouts and gives up 3 runs. They win that game at the bank. They win a series against the Phillies in 4, and I thought they didn't play well. Oh, no.
Yeah, scary.
Oh, no.
It's scary.
What are they going to start doing? Because they have these weird problems against lefties. It's clear. Yeah. I mean, Ranger, Sanchez, Luzardo dominated them. You get a couple righties in the next series. Now, the Cubs, they have a couple lefties if they get through, but Matthew Boyd and Shota Imanaga are a little bit different than Christopher Sanchez.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And Suarez even.
But Dodger fans, if you're listening to this, yeah, I'm not giving you a ton of credit for this series, which should make you so excited moving forward because you beat the Phillies in 4 looking like this.
I think I'll just run you through their stars as we wrap up here on this series of like what they did in this series, and tell me if you think they're going to do better. You know, and maybe not everybody's going to do better, but I bet on a few of them. Mm-hmm. Shohei was 1 for 18. It's an 0.56 batting average. Andy Pye-Hayes was 1 for 15. Freddie Freeman was 2 for 15 or 3 for 15, excuse me. Mookie Betts was 4 for 17. And I think he had only 1 extra base hit. And then you even had, I mean, you're looking at some of the best performers for you. Like Teoscar Hernandez had a 732 OPS. That was one of your best performers amongst players with 15 or more at bats.
He's
Max Muncy
home run though. He's that.
Yeah. Max Muncy was tied for the lead in hits on the team in the series, and he had 9 at bats. Everybody else had, like, of the starters had 15, 16, whatever, maybe. Tommy Edman hit 235 with a 647 OPS. Like, nobody hit well. Like, Will Smith was 2 for 13. He hit 154 with a 421 OPS. I know he's coming off of injury. Like, he's just been gritty to be out there. But I mean, if half of those guys swing it better, the offense is going to be playing well.
Even just a few of them.
That's the scary part. That is the really scary part about this ball club is they they stunk offensively. They were not good offensively, and they won without it going the distance of a series here. That is scary, I think, for whoever is going to get them next.
All right, let's talk Cubs versus Brewers. But before that, let's talk about our friends at Lids.
Real quick, 557 team OPS in that series.
Yuck.
For the Dodgers. That's crazy.
557.
They hit 199 with a 557 OPS as a team. So
they're so good. They just beat the Phillies in 4 with a 557 team OPS.
Like, it's just outrageous.
And you could say they got lucky, but the only run the Phillies scored in that game was kind of off an Emmett Sheehan error.
Yeah. And we're like saying the bullpen stinks. So like, it's just, it's scary. It's really scary. I'm very interested to see this next series, but yes, about Lids specifically as well. You may know by now that Lids has trading cards after our partnership with Topps Chrome. And we're back to tell you that they're the exclusive retailer for Bowman Chrome, and Bowman Chrome's getting hot right now. One, because it's always exciting to go chase those top prospects, but Cam Schlittler has his first auto in there as well. and his cards were like 20xing immediately. It was funny. I was trying to like grab some Yankee spots and breaks, and the break prices got real expensive real quick. I was not able to beat the crowd there. But you could potentially just pull your own Cam Schlittler card if you go to one of 101 Lids locations that carry Bowman Chrome, and they have a site online that can show you which of their locations have the Bowman Chrome hobby boxes. The best part is you pay retail price for these boxes at Lids versus paying marked up prices at secondhand shops or missing out on pre-sales. And just like the Topps Chrome release, I'm going to be doing an in-person signing and meet and greet at one of the Lids locations in the Scottsdale area in the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. I believe it's going to be next Friday. And I think we're going to potentially have Bryce Cunningham, one of the top pitching prospects with the Yankees, out there hanging out with us. We're going to try to pull some Cam Schlittler cards, and Carlos Legrand has his first auto in there as well. So very excited about that. Stay tuned. And it's going to be a fun little meet and greet in person and pulling some cards and getting some signed stuff there. But also the best part about this, if you text baseball, BASEBALL to 29017, you'll get 20% off your next headwear or apparel purchase. And they've got a lot of cool stuff. I know Jack was rocking his not too long ago. Elijah was rocking his on the call up. There's some really cool clothing from like the fall series. I know there's a cooler name than that, but I don't have that off the dome. But yeah, 29017, and you'll get 20% off. It also helps us and costs you nothing. You just got to text baseball to that number. And if you do end up buying some Bowman Chrome at your local spot, definitely shoot me a DM and let me know what you pull.
Quick whoosh, and then we'll be back for Brewers versus Cubs. You telling me the whoosh ain't sick? It's kind of sick, even everybody listening on audio. That's just baseball leveling up in the world. We got some whooshes. Let's talk Cubs Brewers. This was all Cubs from the very start. Best game of the postseason for them by far. First inning started with a bang, like it does in every game of this series, as Ian Happ finally broke through with a big 3-run home run to give the Cubs the lead, and they just never looked back. Matt Shaw drove in a run on a single in the 6th, and Kyle Tucker went yard in the 7th, and Carson Kelly almost went yard on a ball that was just foul. And then he grouted out, and I thought he was safe at first, but they still called him out. He got totally screwed in that AB, but it didn't matter. Cubs win. Michael Busch joined the party for his 4th home run of the postseason. That's the most by any player. Matthew Boyd showed up, tossing 4 2/3 of shutout baseball with 6 strikeouts and just 2 hits allowed, joining Jake Arrieta as the only Cubs pitchers in their history to throw 4+ scoreless innings with 5+ Ks in an elimination game. Bullpen shut the door again. Palencia got 4 outs. Pomeranz struck out 2 in a shutout inning. Brad Keller, shutout inning. Big hoss. And then Caleb Fieldbar did the same, and we got a game 5, Arm.
Thank goodness. I really wanted the game 5 in that Phillies-Dodgers series. And this is the one where we didn't think it was going to happen. And this is why baseball is so amazing.
I was so wrong about this one. I put the Cubs to bed. I said, Matthew Boyd, it looks like his arm is falling off. 4 2/3 shutout baseball.
It's reattached, brother.
I said the Cubs offense, it's kind of been middling. I don't expect them to step up, especially against a guy like Freddie Peralta. What do? Ian Happ, the guy who's been terrible, 3-run home run off Freddie Peralta. And then they just kept hitting. I was so wrong. And now, like, I don't want to predict this series anymore. No. Like, I have no idea. When Jack and I first did the predictions episode, neither of us had a strong opinion. I was like, who are you going with? He said Brewers. And I was like, I'll go for the Cubs just to be different. I have no idea how the rest of the series is going to go. And that's what makes it so awesome.
Well, and it's funny because, this is one of those where you just feel like, okay, well, now the Cubs are in the driver's seat. They've got the momentum, and then they'll lose somehow in game 5. And that's why it's confusing. But I do think that I don't know if I feel that way in this situation. That's usually how my predictions will go when I try to look at it that way. But what did we talk about in the last episode? Like, one of these guys between Kyle Tucker and PCA needs to get going. And I felt more confident that Kyle Tucker was going to get going because his at-bats the last few games have been good. Kyle Tucker reached base 4 times in this one and had it wasn't like a game-changing homer, but I think it was one that kind of put the final nail in the coffin there.
Yeah.
I think it was more just important for that whole team to see Kyle Tucker go deep, for Kyle Tucker to see that slug come back as well. He's been putting together now a lot of good at-bats, but you needed that slug, especially in some of these games, the way that they've gone. Like, you want to be able to leave the yard with one swing, especially because this Brewers staff, even when you do get to them early, like they've hunkered down in other games. And this one, they did still too. I mean, you saw 4 straight zeros after the 3, but then some home run swings were able to kind of push across at least even one run there on solo shots. So like, that's how they're going to score a lot of the time here. And outside of Bush and Seiya, you're kind of wondering, like, who's going to be the guy that goes yard for you? Like, who can be that other player that instills some fear in the opposing team? And it needs to be Tucker. It needs to be the guy that's going to make $300 million in a few months here, maybe $400 million. And he's looked like that of late. And I'm glad, because it would have been disappointing just after the Cubs making the move to get him, the talent that we know he has, for them to not get a full shot with the best version of Kyle Tucker. And that's not totally his fault, because he's been really banged up this year. But it's just nice to see him healthy and swinging it now. Now this lineup, it feels like first half Cubs. It's funny how quick that can change, right? Where Bush seems like he's homering every other day. Nico Horner had 3 hits in this one. Tucker's back to Tucker. Seiya is back to himself as well. And then now your variable is, well, what PCA are we going to get? Well, hopefully the good one, but he's in the 7 hole for you now. And you're producing runs, I think, without him. So that's the interesting part of it. And I think that's what makes the Cubs have this spark potential is, I mean, they can slug with the best of them, but they didn't need to in this one. And that's the craziest part. I don't think either of us would have thought they'd shut out the Brewers here. Boyd, I mean, he dug deep. It was 67 pitches, but he gave you 4 2/3, and he was nasty.
Gutsy. I saw a guy who I thought his arm was falling off. I know I keep saying that, but I was so shocked watching that performance. It was so funny. My mouth just stayed open for 2 hours after that error. That just watching Matthew Boyd being so wrong, I could have sworn he was going to give up 4 runs. Right? The Brewers already got to him a little bit in his first start. And then another one. It's not like he has a full slate of rest either, going game 1 to game 4. I know there's some off days in between, but he was not on a full rest schedule. On 3 days rest the first time, after a tough second half, to put up that type of performance, to join Jake Arrieta as the only Cubs to have 4+ scoreless innings with 5+ Ks in an elimination game, so much respect for him. And the Brewers are a great offense, so to do it to them too, gutsy from Matt Boyd.
How about Drew Pomerantz?
Dude.
So Pomerantz now, he has not given up a run in this postseason. And the Brewers have now seen him on 3 different occasions already in this series. You've got 5 scoreless innings, I think, from Pomerantz now. And the three of them have come in, pretty big spots here against the Brewers. People forget, Just Baseball broke the Drew Pomerantz to the Mariners signing going into this year.
Take credit for that one. That was an Aram Leighton banger. That was a what were we? You haven't had an Aram
an Aram bomb
in a while.
Yeah, I know. That's what the offseason.
Are you retiring?
So no, it's just it's when the minor league free agent market picks up. That's where I cook. It's the scraps that Jeff Passan just doesn't even have the time to go pick up. That's where I cook.
Good.
But that was one where it was funny because when I broke that, the most common response was, "He's still around."
Yeah.
There's a couple signings that I put out. That one, and then the responses to Reese McGuire were also very, very consistent in the quote tweets. But both
should we
of those
go through those quote tweets?
You should. You get a location tracker of a certain brand's parking lot and how many locations are close to Wrigley Field there. But Pomerantz was incredible this year, and again didn't even start the year with the Cubs, so good acquisition there. Palencia continues to get deployed in like the 5th and 6th innings and has been fantastic. And I really had zero confidence in this pitching staff going into this, and here they are. So I still think the last game turns into a slugfest, and I'm sure I'll be wrong. I'm sure I will. But I do think this game 5 is going to be an offensive onslaught both ways, and I'm really interested to see how that shakes out.
I'm fascinated to see what the Cubs do with their pitching plan here. because luckily they get another day off in between. So they can rest some of these relievers. Because, I mean, logically, I don't think Shota Imanaga is going to pitch well. He's given up 22 home runs in the second half. The next closest pitcher is 17. It's bombs away. We've seen the Brewers offense already beat him up. But now knowing it, he's probably just going to go shove. But if I'm the Cubs going into it, is it really Shota? And then if I'm the Brewers on the other side, is it just a straight bullpen game? Is Mizorowski going to go? How are they going to manage that? And, there's a part of me, Harm, that's like, I was going through the Brewers' past postseasons because they probably feel like they're on the cusp of another collapse here. Because the Brewers, I mean, we saw what happened against the Mets last year, but just going through 2018, they lose to the Dodgers 4-3, just a tough one. 2019, they lose to the eventual Washington Nationals. They lose in 7. Or no, sorry, they lost 4-3 in the wild card game. Then another wild card game where they lose in 2020 to the World Series champion Dodgers. Then in 2021, they lose in the NLDS to the World Championship Atlanta Braves. Then in 2023, they lose to the Diamondbacks, who ended up going to the World Series. And then, of course, the Mets last year. Like, this team has seen so many heartbreaks.
Yeah.
They make the playoffs every year, and it's just a knife in their gut, in their heart, in their back, in the middle of their forehead.
Everywhere.
They got wounds everywhere. It almost feels like I'm giving it to the Brewers just because the baseball gods owe them. Because I'm done actually analyzing the games and making predictions. I'm done. Like, in this, especially in this series.
Yeah.
I got no read.
This one's crazy. What's interesting is I think the Brewers, at least with the day off and the way that this game went, I do think it favors them offensively, right? So, it favors them pitching wise. You're going to have a very rested Abner Uribe, who is going to have, I think, 3 days off after throwing 13 pitches?
Yeah,
maybe 4 days rest. Chad Patrick will still be good to go. He barely threw. You'll have Mizorowski available. You'll have Quinn Priester available. You'll basically have everybody. McGill will be available.
Quintana.
I'm sure if they wanted to. Like, that guy will throw anytime. So I say it's going to be a slugfest, but the more I think about, I'm still going to stick with that. But the more I see like the pitching situation here for the Brewers, they're going to have a lot of different options. So they can afford to go very short leash with a lot of their guys, knowing that they have a bunch of different players that they can go with here. So this is where it's a big spot for Murphy, and see how does he manage the bullpen? Does he deploy his guys in the right spots? But yes, Mizorowski is going to have 4 days rest after throwing 57 pitches. If Mizorowski can give you the Roki situation, or just the way he did it last time, I should just call it the Mizorowski situation, and he gives you 3 innings of just dominance again, what that now does for the rest of your bullpen, now you can really play the matchups and you can short leash your starter there. So that's the reason why I still feel optimistic about the Brewers, is how good Mizorowski looked, having that in your back pocket, and then having all of your top relievers very available on top of starters as well. You can go as short of a leash as you want with everybody. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. It can breed over managing, but I think it's a good spot overall to be in, if you're the Brewers. And I think you got to feel pretty good about it going home.
But if you're on the Cubs side, because we were just talking up the Brewers, and if you're the Cubs, you built the momentum. You have now won 2 in a row. I'd rather be in your shoes. Right? If it just in terms of building the momentum, right? You'd rather be on the Cubs side, clearly, after winning those 2 games, and and the Brewers probably know that they've been in some tough spots in the postseason and they don't want to fall into another one. There is going to be a lot of pressure on them at home. There will be. The fans, they're all going to be nervous in that stadium. They will, at American Family Field.
Yep.
I guarantee you they're
going to feel it.
Yeah, they're going to feel it. Father taking his kid, being like, please, please. Like, it's going to be a tense environment, which doesn't necessarily help the home team that much when everyone's on pins and needles.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep going back and forth because here's what has to happen. Like a guy like Bryce Terang has to step up. He's what made the Brewers so prolific in the second half. Of course, there was plenty of other guys that made the Brewers great, but him in the middle of the lineup, he's had a really, really tough series. Caleb Durbin has to step up offensively. Sal Frelick has to step up offensively. It can't just be the first three guys and you expect to win, because the Cubs offense is going to show up here. Now, it's going to take some excellent pitching performances from Milwaukee, and I think they have it in them. But guys like that have to step up if the Brewers want to move past the series, and they're going to have to really step up if they get past and go face the Dodgers.
You think there's a world where somebody gets an injury designation and Cade Horton gets activated?
Is that possible?
I think it could be possible.
Is he healthy enough to throw?
I don't know. He said 2 days ago on October 7th, at this moment, I am pain-free. Cade Horton on his fractured rib. They may say like it's a pain management thing. Go for it. I think it would be. I think it would be risky, silly.
It is, but I need it. I want to see that. Like I want to see the Cubs guy, because Cade Horton down the stretch was the Cubs guy. Actually, kind of Jameson Tyler was, but Cade Horton is probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I would love to see him.
So he said he thinks he'd be ready for the NLCS. So it's just kind of depends on the timing of the bullpens, how he's scaling up, how the Cubs feel about it. But it would be pretty badass if they decided to activate Cade Horton. And again, I think you'd have to find an injury designation. Maybe, Soroka's arm starts to bother him a little bit again. They'll figure that out, right? Just an interesting wrinkle, because talk about momentum. You bring your dog, the guy that's been potentially your Rookie of the Year, but also just the guy that's been your glue in the second half as a pitcher, and just has been so impressive, and just how much that would galvanize this ball club. I don't know. They have the extra day off, which is huge to try to figure that out, and it would be damn cool. But we'll see.
All right, before we rehash some of our thoughts about Mariners Tigers, and then we'll say goodnight to everybody listening. Again, thank you to everybody on YouTube. Again, if you're still watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button and comment down below. We love it. It really helps the stream as well. And make sure to hit that big red subscribe button, as we will be live 5 days a week during the weekdays. Not on the weekends, but of course we'll be back. So we'll always be live on this YouTube channel. So make sure that you're subscribing. Let's hear the prediction. And I'm throwing it over to you because I'm scared. I don't know what to pick.
I'm gonna be wrong no matter what.
Me too. So
let's fight from this Cubs team.
Whatever you choose, I'll choose the opposite. So one of us will be right.
Absolutely love the fight from this Cubs team, but getting out of Wrigley helps. I just think playing at Wrigley is
tough.
It's tough, man. So I think between that, the way the pitching lines up for the Brewers, I'm gonna go with the Brewers.
I said I was going to go the opposite of you. I was hoping you would take the Cubs so I could take the Brewers. I think the Brewers win too. I do. It's also really hard to beat the Brewers 3 times in a row. It just is. It's hard to beat the Cubs 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
It just feels like the home team has the advantage because this is such a coin flip series. If you give me, because you know what's funny? I think the best Brewers game will be their bullpen games, because their bullpen is so good. I trust Pat Murphy to make all the right decisions.
You have no idea who the hell you're going to see if you're the Cubs going into Game 5.
And they could go Miz to Quintana. Like that switch up, you're adjusting to completely different arsenals every second. And Miz, talk about that adrenaline. I think he's going to touch 105.
You might. And that's where it's going to just come down to, like, can the Cubs elite bats, which, I mean, I think the way Michael Busch has swung it, he's looked like an elite bat. Kyle Tucker is an elite bat, right? Like, can their top guys just come up big and clip one, right? It just takes a couple big swings. That could be all it takes. But I do think you look at the Cubs and their key guys out of that bullpen, like, who you're going to see if you're the Brewers and you're playing from behind in a close one. And you've seen those guys a good bit in this series. I wonder if that, plays to the Brewers' advantage, or if they just continue to struggle against some of those bullpen arms. But it's going to be, I think, one of the best versions of bullpen chaos from the Brewers, and I think that's going to make it really hard. But if Kyle Tucker, that can be a couple run difference by just a couple big swings, and that might be all they need.
And it was so funny. I just Googled because someone commented Cubs have beat the Brewers 3 in a row before already in the regular season. The Brewers have also beaten the Cubs 3 times in a row in the regular season. Like, the season series here is 7-6. Like, it's as close as possible. So, yeah, it's been done before. It's still really hard
to do in the playoffs, too.
It's really hard to do in the playoffs. So, just give me the home team, I guess. I like the Brewers pitching plan. If Kate Horton goes, though, I might change my tune. I wish we could hear Jack narrating the World Series games. I love that. Absolutely. I agree.
We will. It's coming. It'll be one of these days, not too far from now.
We'll start with the whooshes, and then we get to some of those things.
Right
now, we're on whooshes.
Yeah, we're getting there, though.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right. Before we get to rehashing some thoughts on Tigers Mariners, how about life insurance?
Yeah. Well, I went on a hike today, dude, and they're kind of scary. Like, there's a lot of cliffs, and I'm always afraid of tripping or slipping or whatever. And I'm looking over the edge of the cliff, and I'm like, man, what would my family do if I wasn't here anymore? So that's why you got to think about life insurance, and where better to go than Ethos. So here's the funny thing. Life insurance is one of those things that you just don't really want to think about until life kind of hits you, right? And like, there's been a few instances where that's happened. I like to joke about it too, but sometimes I'm walking, I'm like, oh, this is scary. I want to make sure that my family is taken care of. And the best part about Ethos is there's no complicated process. It's 100% online. There's no medical exam required. You just answer a few health questions. You get a quote in as little as 10 minutes, and you can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. And again, I don't like leaving my house that much. This hike was already kind of a big venture. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies as low as $2 per day, billed monthly. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage. And Ethos has a 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 2,400 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/justbaseball. That's ethos.com/justbaseball. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
I'm proud of you. That was an excellent ad read. Because Jack, he crushes it.
It's so annoying,
out of the park every time.
It's so annoying.
So annoying.
He makes the ad reads look so easy, and they're not sometimes. They're really not. And Jack's automatic. And it's funny because on the radio, I want to clip it. Sometimes he's got to read some really funny ads, man.
Yeah, he does.
It's some Marlins promotions. I got to have like a montage made of some of the more ridiculous ones.
And we know everybody's got to listen to ads every so often. So hopefully we make them as fun as humanly possible. And we'll be right back to talk Mariners Tigers. Quick whoosh. Mariners Tigers game 5. I've been thinking about this series all day. I'm obsessed with this series because it is a team with the clearly better roster in Seattle. I don't think anyone would deny that. Tigers fans wouldn't deny that. But there's something about these gritty Tigs. Defense, base running. Their manager, AJ Hinch, compared to a first-year manager. It's such a nuanced battle. And I love it so much. And I've loved watching these games. And I know the Tigers offense has been incredibly exciting. It's so fascinating to me. It's such a different style of teams going up against each other when it's like, and the Mariners were arguably the biggest favorite of anyone.
Yeah.
And we're going to a game 5, but it's in T-Mobile where the Mariners have been borderline unstoppable all year against Tarek Skubal. But at the same time, Skubal's 0-3 against them. And we know that Skubal, without that much rest, in an elimination game last time, gave up a grand slam to Lane Thomas, so he's not impenetrable. But at the same time, it's Tarek Skubal in an elimination game.
Yeah. And he was really good otherwise.
He was really good otherwise.
Get clipped.
And then you got George Kirby on the other side, who that start against the Astros, I thought that was such a dominant performance. Like, that's when George Kirby really burst onto the scene.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been in the game anymore. Like, he shouldn't have given up that home run to
oh, you're talking about that. I was talking about
yeah.
what he has the stuff to put up an otherworldly performance.
Yeah.
But he's got an ERA over 6 against the Tigers. And we saw him give up that big home run to Kerry Carpenter. Now, personally, I also, for anybody listening who wants to make some late night bets, I already bet George Kirby under 15.5 pitching outs.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go past 5 innings. I don't think he's going to see Kerry Carpenter more than twice, because it's also been announced that Luis Castillo will be available out of the bullpen. So this is going to be a battle of managers. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be low scoring. And I just can't get over I have Hinch and Skubal. When I think about the game unfolding like that, now, anything could happen. They could crush Skubal and the Tigers hit up Kirby. We don't know. But the most confident script I feel good about is a tight, low-scoring game where Skubal, I mean, also the Tigers are minus 140 favorites on BetMGM.
Are they? I was going to say,
that's
the more I talk myself into the Tigers.
Where are you at? Because I also I had Tigers in 5, so I'm hanging on my prediction a little bit more. And Jack and I did it. I know you like the Mariners, but it's not like you were tied to them. So as someone who wasn't tied to a prediction, I feel like you'd have the best breakdown of it.
I mean, this is the most I've felt the pendulum swing to the Tigers. It's not because even the momentum. I think it's just the way things line up here, where you mentioned the success that the Tigers have had against Kirby. I don't really think the lack of success for Skubal against the Mariners matters as much, because I thought last time out he was fantastic, and I don't think he's going to make the same mistake to Jorge Polanco a third time. And it's just rare for him to do that. The other thing that's fascinating to me is Kerry Carpenter has 1 hit in this series. He's 1 for 17. That 1 hit is that outrageous swing to go deep off of George Kirby. The fact that the Tigers are doing this with Kerry Carpenter essentially being a no-show, aside from that swing, Dylan Dingler is 2 for 14. Riley Green has 3 hits, and one of them is that home run as well.
Every Tigers hit is clutch. Like, Spencer Torkelson is not having a good series, but he's got 6 RBIs. Every single one of his hits matters. Every single one of these guys hits matters.
Labor's been incredible.
When it doesn't matter, nobody hits for the Tigers.
It's amazing. And then the way the bullpens line up, Gabe Spire, I all of a sudden don't feel as good about, right? Like, he's thrown a lot. They're gonna go to Brash, right? But they got to Brash too. So if you're not getting 6 innings out of Kirby, how much of a bullpen advantage do the Mariners really have?
I think the Mariners are going to get 5 out of Kirby, or 4 or 5 out of Kirby, and then I think they're going to bridge to Castillo to hedge some of those bullpen concerns, right? So I think we see Spire against Kerry Carpenter, and I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
I don't think we see Bizzardo. I think in Dan Wilson's perfect world, and for all those on YouTube, Mariners fans, let us know in the comments. I think their plan would be Kirby for 4 or 5, Castillo for 2 or 3, Brash Munoz, or just go Kirby to Castillo to Munoz. I think that would probably be their perfect plan, because we've seen Castillo dominate the Tigers already.
Yep.
Kirby is George Kirby. Like, I have faith in him. I took his under outs because I think that's going to be a managerial decision taking him out, not because I'm doubting George Kirby's ability to throw well. And then Munoz is as good of a reliever right now as anybody in baseball. So that pitching plan, it's going to be hard for the Tigers to score.
Yeah.
So I just think it's such a tight game.
They got to get really clever. And I think the fact that Castillo's available and that, they might deploy Munoz earlier, I think they're going to get really creative. But to your point, I think the Tigers are going to get creative as well. Troy Melton has proven to be a really fascinating weapon for them. He only threw 35 pitches last time out. You have a couple days. Yeah, I think for him to get, or at least a day, to rest, see if he's available. Finnegan will probably be available. Like, it's going to be all hands on deck for them too. So the Tigers have some options here, and it's going to be interesting to see how Hinch can can manage that as well. And as we mentioned in the past, like this bench is just a lot better where you can pinch hit Jahmai Jones and Wenceel Perez in certain spots. And it's just a more well-rounded situation there. So it's interesting. I want to see this Mariners offense fully get going here, but it just feels like they're all taking turns. My prediction's Tigers. I think Tarek Skubal goes out there and says, you guys think I have a weakness? You think there's a team that can beat me consistently? I'm the best pitcher on the fucking planet. And I think that's going to be the statement from him. And they're going to try to match on the Mariners side with different arms and, you know, Castillo in the relief role. I don't know how much experience does he have doing that. Like, we'll see how comfortable he looks, but I think it's a close one. I think it's a really fun one. And I think the Tigers outlast them.
I agree with you, but I love that pitching plan from Seattle, and they're at home and they have hit Skubal. It's funny. This is like the one team that can hit him, or Lane Thomas. They don't have Lane Thomas. So it's such a good game. What I will say is I think the Tigers are overvalued. Like, if we're just talking about betting odds, they shouldn't be minus 140. That's too much. So there's a part of me that wants to bet Seattle, but that's for another time. We won't clog everyone with betting stuff. I'll go with the Tigers, but I will say I was more confident yesterday. After really thinking about it, like, I get it. Seattle can win this game.
They could just blitz him at home too. J-Rod could have a big swing. Rowley has a big swing, and
flip a coin. Is it going to land on Tigers or is it going to land on Seattle?
Yeah,
I really think that's what it's going to come down to. And that's why I can't wait to watch. I already want to fast forward to tomorrow. I cannot wait.
This is going to be, again, I'm stamping, this is going to be also one of the best games we've had in a while. And I'm looking forward to it.
God, the playoffs is off to such a great start. We really appreciate everybody coming in for these YouTube lives. Again, another reminder, you can always catch us right after the games, or you can listen on audio. And the best way to support, rate and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your shows. And if you could leave a written review, if you would be so kind, we would really, really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment on YouTube. And if you do want to join our Discord, best baseball group chat in the world, we're having so much fun in there, folks. If you got a $10 bill lying around, less than a price of a sandwich, you can find the link in the YouTube description, audio description, all of that. For Aram Layton, I'm Peter Apple. We're going to bed and we're waking up to some great baseball tomorrow. With that, thank you, everybody.